We are live. So hello, everyone. My name is Allison. I'm the Executive Director of the Gallatin County Democrats. I am excited to be here tonight once again. We're doing twice weekly updates with our Gallatin Democratic legislators to share updates from Helena and the Montana Legislature. And tonight I'm joined by Representative Denise Hayman, who represents House District 66. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us tonight, Denise.
Sure.
So I'm just gonna dive in, really just to, I think a lot of us, I'm gonna start with a harder topic first, and then we'll talk about the legislative updates. But we've all been paying really close attention to what's been happening in Washington, D.C. with the insurrection that happened yesterday and the attempted coup. That's my words. I'm using those. I'm owning them. So I know you all have been in session. You were in session all throughout the day yesterday. Some of your colleagues have posted updates about their reactions to what happened, but I'm just wondering how much of a conversation has been happening with you all, if any, or if you had any of your own thoughts you wanted to share with all of us tonight.
Yes, you're right. I was on Zoom committees yesterday and really didn't know what was going on till my husband kind of waved at me and said, Denise, you need to see this New York Times article. And yeah, it was frightening. It was really frightening and surreal. I kept going, no, this can't be happening. How, I guess, and ultimately, my takeaway and my family's, I mean, we sat down and talked about it last night. I have 2 adult children. And how did they get into the Capitol? I mean, that was the #1 thing we couldn't even wrap our heads around. How did that happen? And clearly a breakdown in protection. But that's very frightening. I mean, fortunately, none of the senators or legislators were injured or staff, but it could have been far, far worse. People were walking around with guns in the Capitol. And a very volatile situation, obviously. What did I do personally? I said, I need to go for a walk. I need to clear out my head because this is so overwhelming and I can't do a gosh darn thing about it. And so ran into people on the trail that I know, and we're all talking about how it's so outrageous and we're so upset. So I can't imagine anyone who wouldn't be upset. I mean, it's hard to define it, really, when you think about it, how betrayed we have been by Trump. I mean, it's, yeah, this is the guy who has the codes for nuclear bomb. And we've always joked about that, but really, he is one frightening puppy.
Yes, he is. And I've been thinking about this, and that, you know, the more in a corner he is, what happens when people are backed into a corner, and, you know, the reaction and how do people respond, and someone like him in particular is not going to respond appropriately, and we've seen that. So it's not good. Well, I am glad that everyone in Helena, all of our legislators, nothing happened here in Montana yesterday. I know there were some gatherings that happened across the state, but it seems they were all peaceful. So I'm grateful for that, and that nothing went beyond what we watched on live unfold on social media and on our news channels. So when aside from all of that, what is going on in the session right now? It's day 4. So, right. Very early on, I know that a lot of our newest representatives are still kind of getting their feet wet and still just trying to learn what's going on. We spoke with Representative Kelly Cordham on Tuesday evening, and he is learning along with a lot of other of his colleagues. But this is your 4th session, correct? Yes. Okay, so correct. This is your 4th session. It looks a lot different now. So you're participating completely remotely?
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
And that's more challenging at times, but it's, I don't have to worry about how close I'm getting to someone or is my mask on correctly. Mm-hmm. So, and obviously I can have discussions without sounding like I'm talking through a bale of cotton. So, that is helpful. I would say I'm on 3 committees. I'm on state admin, and Wendy McCamey is the chair, and she is very gracious and very working very hard to make sure that those of us who are on Zoom are getting our needs met. There was the first day there was feedback with the microphones, and it wasn't impacting the people in the room, but it was those of us on Zoom. And she made sure that by the next day that problem had been resolved. And I'm making sure that she tries to see our hands raised or someone else does. So that part's been fine. I haven't gotten any pushback from anyone about why I'm not in Helena. And so that feels good. And I think just the protocols that were in place and understood are now a little different. For example, a kind of thing which seems like a nothing thing, which is a proxy. So if you can't make it to the committee and there's going to be a vote on a bill, you give the vice chair your proxy. Well, I'm vice chair on energy, and the rest of my committee members are on Zoom. And how do we make sure that I get the proxy that they've signed, and then I get that into the committee chair, which is actually going to take a little bit of effort to do. So you add that on top of some other housekeeping things, and it's more work at that level.
Yeah, that sounds like it.
And we have only had one bill on the floor of the House. It's called the feed bill. And it's the feed bill because it's what feeds us. It's salary and per diem and money for staff, support staff. So it's an important bill, and it always gets passed and resolved right in the beginning, which is good. So there's that. We did vote on rules on the first day. There was a motion to move 2017 rules, which were not good rules for us as a caucus, and we did not pass that. And then there was a proposal of 2019, and with Solutions Caucus Republicans and the Dems, we passed that. Now it's going to go to a rules committee. I don't know when that is. It'll be soon. And it could get ugly again. You know, there's talk of not letting us vote for third reading via Zoom, that they would force us to go to Helena to do that, and some other shenanigans like that. So we'll have to see how they pursue that. But so far, everyone's playing nicely, and no one's making big waves. So, but
it's only day 4.
It's only day 4. Yeah, we're still singing Kumbaya. You know?
Okay. Yeah. Still feeling each other out, figuring this new world out together, I assume.
Right.
Yeah. Now, what about the COVID panel? Has that the COVID response panel? Is that something?
No, it's not quite been nailed down that I'm aware of. There has been talk about that. I call it the death panel because, hello, you're going to meet only when there's an outbreak. And oftentimes when there's an outbreak, there's a serious outbreak. And so we'll see how that goes. I think that would only work if there was absolute honesty from everyone about, number one, I have some symptoms. Number two, I've been exposed. Number three, I'm really homesick with COVID and not a cold. You get my drift. Because if people aren't willing to be honest about it, I'm not sure how that panel will operate and be effective.
Yeah, that's good points. All good points. I have always found that this idea has been so reactive too and not proactive that it's infuriating. So I agree with you on the death panel comment. Thank you for saying that. So we'll need to pay attention to the rules committee, because we'll want to submit comments whenever that comes along so that we can help you all out with making sure.
Correct. That's going to be key.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll pay attention to when that's scheduled. For people watching and listening, because of the way the session is happening right now, you have to submit your public comment or request to participate via Zoom
Correct.
the day before by noon, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Now, that your comments are, if you have written comments, let's say you have something semi-technical that you need to put in writing, but if you just want to comment on a bill, you don't have to put that in writing.
Okay.
What I'm understanding. But I would recommend that you go to the website, go to Montana State Legislature, go to the comment button and see exactly how they lay it out.
Yeah. I submitted comment today on something, and you have to provide your name and your email address, and then you can just either write, your statement. Some of them have not the form I did today, but another one I saw, you could actually upload documentation, like support documentation, if there was something you were submitting. And then on that same form, you can say, I just want to submit comment, like written comment, or
Right.
I want to join via Zoom during the session, like during the hearing.
And then you could make a comment. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, so that's a little bit different this year with being able to do it on Zoom, but we have to be a little bit more on top of knowing when hearings are happening, right, so that we can get the word out, so that that opportunity to present your comment in front of the committee will be heard. So that's just something to keep in mind, everyone. And we're going to be working hard to make sure we get the information out on these critical committee hearings and bill hearings, right, as they come along. So and other than the rules, are there any, like, again, it's day 4, are there any bills that you are aware of that we should be paying attention to in the next couple of days?
Well, not the next couple of days. I haven't had the time to look at other committees, but there are a lot of titles of bills. Now, that doesn't mean those titles are going to get turned into bills, but they're some of them are pretty inflammatory. And so we know that we're going to be dealing with abortion bills, we're going to be dealing with gun bills, and we're going to be dealing probably with bills that want to limit people on Medicaid. And I don't think that legally they can do much about the Medicaid, and especially in light of, thank God, the silver lining on all this is Biden getting elected. And he's going to, I'm sure, come up with new legislation that will, or rules that will cement in place opportunities for health, for Medicaid, for low-income people. So I'm delighted about that.
Aren't we all? Aren't we all? And then,
but they're going to try a lot of stuff. And the deal is that we have, in theory, more votes than they do, with if you add the moderates and the Democrats, but we're not assured they're going to vote our way all the time. So that's going to take negotiating.
absolutely. Do you have a sense of how those kinds of conversations, that negotiating, will be able to happen? Like, with being most of the Democrats are participating, on Zoom, some not even in Helena, like, I think we're all wondering, at least I am, how do you build relationships right now when this is the situation?
It would be very tough if you were brand new, because this is my fourth term. And so I can call Republicans that I know that might be willing to vote my way on a bill. And we've built up a relationship, and they, I've been honest with them in terms of, yes, I can support your bill or not. But that's a very different conversation that you have face to face, and you really can't have that via Zoom. It's just not going to work. So, it's the kind of thing, you're sitting in a committee meeting and you lean over and you chat with the person next to you, and they're a Republican from the High Line, and you start chatting you sit next to them maybe daily or every 3 times a week, and you build a relationship. And sometimes that's the way legislation works. But via Zoom, that's not going to happen. And it's really unfortunate.
Yeah.
Here's hoping we get the vaccine sooner than later.
Yes, that would be helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So is there, the schedule right now is committee hearings in the morning and then floor session in the afternoon, correct? Is that kind of how it?
Well, there are committee hearings in the morning. They start at 8, and then they break just, they could go as late as the floor session. And that's at 1 o'clock. And right now we don't have much business, so the floor session doesn't take long. And then there are afternoon committees, which start at 3 o'clock. So you're nonstop all day.
Okay. Yeah. And then, and right now that's Monday through Friday.
Right.
In a couple weeks, there will be things on Saturday too, right?
Well, we'll see.
Okay.
It'll be interesting to see how many bills actually get introduced. I mean, I'm only introducing a few bills myself, because the odds of passing a Democratic bill is not great. And it wasn't great last session, because if you look at the really key bills, we brought all the important bills. Mary Cafaro brought Medicaid expansion. We brought infrastructure. We brought some other bills I can't think of off the top of our head. So what happens? They get in committee and they kill them, and they've got a title waiting, and before you know it, it's like a phoenix and it rises and it's got a Republican name on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think the same thing will happen this session with important bills.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I mean, if that's the way that it takes to get good bills passed, then I guess,
Oh, yeah.
you know, that's what you have to do. And I think that and when I say we, I'm talking about, you know, like the public constituents everywhere, not just in Gallatin County, but like we are grateful that you all are doing the work to build the relationships and make sure those good bills are presented anyway, whether they have your name attached to it or not. So thank you for that work. Is there anything else that we should be aware of right now? Like these updates are a little short and not very action oriented right now because, you know, it's only day 4 and you're all getting situated and making sure the system, the process, like you were talking about earlier, is working. But is there anything else that you wanted to talk about this evening or let us know about?
Well, I guess what I want to say personally is don't get disheartened. It's, you know, it's really quite overwhelming when you think about that we have John Tester and we have 33 in the House and 19 in the Senate, and that's it. That is pretty much it. A few county commissioners here and there, but that's pretty much it. And I know we can get pretty saddened by that. And I just want to tell people that you know, we're working really hard. We're coming up with plans to cultivate people to run again in 2022, 21-22, excuse me. And it is really, really, really important that we have your energy as well, because it's going to take a group effort. In fact, you know, I would love to bring Stacey Adams here because I don't think we're that far off from where Georgia started several years ago. I mean, we're back to square one now. And I think we just have to buy in for the long term and find those opportunities. And really, I think hear what Montanans want, and they want jobs. They really do. And I think you have to recognize that you can weave that theme into a lot of things. You can weave it into renewables. You can weave it into healthcare. You can weave it into infrastructure. You can weave it into pretty much everything. Tourist dollars, tourist income. It's jobs. And we just need to be up front and center that it is jobs, and how we say it, and we get that other work done that's equally important, but that it's wrapped under the umbrella of jobs.
Absolutely.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And I think that a lot of us, you know, the events of yesterday kind of derailed a lot of the celebration and the joy of seeing the results out of Georgia and the work that Stacey Abrams and all of the other organizers in Georgia have done over the last decade. And I think there's a lot of lessons that we can learn, and we can apply them directly in Montana from the bottom up. You know, like we're the Gallatin County Democrats. We talk about bottom up all the time. We focus on the county and the legislative seats, and held our own in 2020, gained a county commissioner seat and the clerk of district court seat, which is at the county level. And I think that, there's a lot of things that we can do together. And so I second and echo your calls for let's not lose heart. There is work to be done, but we can do it together, and we will do it together. There has been a question that's come up on our feed on Facebook. Cora Newman is asking, what is the best way or place for the public to sign up for legislative action alerts? I am sure that you have some recommendations for organizations that probably push out notices. We're going to be working on our own platform as well for legislative action. So the best way right now is to go to gallatondemocrats.com over up here, right here. Look at that, I did that. And sign up for our newsletter. We do a weekly newsletter call to action typically. We send that on Wednesdays right now. That may change, but we're going to create different ways of spreading the word through platforms and apps that we have access to right now. But there are lots of organizations who are doing specific calls to action. So like the Montana Human Rights Network, for example, they have one. Forward Montana has a newsletter right now they're starting called What the Helena, which is just a great way to frame it. What the Helena. Montana Women Now or Women Vote. There's a lot of things. So I'll post some of those. What?
Yeah. MEIC.
Yep, exactly. So I'll post some of those after we're done this evening. I'll add them to this post so that people can get to them. And I'll also be sending those out in our newsletter so that if there's a specific issue that you care most about, find the organization that's lobbying and doing activist work and advocating on that. And yes, Cora, we'll put them on our website as well. Good call. So we'll do that too. We just want to make sure that people have as much information as possible. It can get really overwhelming. It's hard to pay attention. There's a lot going on constantly. But we're all doing the best that we can, and we're all in this together. And Representative Hayman, thank you so much for your work. We're grateful for your experience and your wisdom and your passion for what you do. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Allison. And we're really fortunate to have you as our executive director. I'm totally delighted.
Well, it's just a love fest now. And on that, I think that's the best time to leave it at that. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Yeah, thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. And we'll do this again next week, Tuesday at 5:30. We have Senator Pat Flowers lined up for next Tuesday. I
may have to get online for that one.
I know. I'm excited to talk with him from the Senate side. So anyway, we will just keep doing this. And thank you all for paying attention and being engaged. We'll see you soon.
Take care.
Bye.